Hi everyone, in today's lesson I'll be going through the answers for the Maths Practice Paper 1. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started with the first question. So here we've got a simple addition. So we write out the three numbers underneath each other in columns. And then we're going to add up each column. So we're going to start by adding up the right-hand column. So we add up 4 plus 5 plus 7. 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 7 is 16. So that's over 10, so we're going to have to carry over the 10 part. So we put down the 6 of the 16 here, and then the 1 of the 16 there, which is representing the 10. Then we add up this column. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 4 is 9. And finally, we add up the last column, which just has a 3 in it. So we put 396, there's our answer. Okay, now multiplication. Again, we're going to write the numbers nicely in columns. Here again, we're going to start from the right-hand side, but we're really starting from this right-hand side bottom number, because what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 2 times 6 and then 2 times 2. Okay, so 2 times 6 is 12. Again, we're going to have to carry over there. So we put a 2, a little 1 up here to remind ourselves. 2 times 2 is 4, and then we add the 1, that gives us 5. Okay? Now, when we move on to now looking at the 3, we have to make sure we add a 0 first before we start, because we're now dealing with the tens column. Okay, so now we're going to do, like before, 3 times 6 and then 3 times 2. Okay? So, 3 times 6 is 18, so we put the 8 down there and we carry over the 1. And then 3 times 2 is 6, we add the 1, we get 7. And then if we add up these columns like normal, we get 2, 5 plus 8 is 13, so we'd have to carry over a 1, and 1 plus 7 is 8, and there's our answer. Okay, now division. So here we write out the number that's going to be divided, we put the division sign, and the number doing the division over here. And here we're actually going to start from the left. So we say, how many times does 4 go into 6? It's once. And what's the remainder? 1 times 4 is 4. So 6 minus 4 is 2. So we've got remainder 2 here. Now we say, how many times does 4 go into 22? And that's going to be 5 times. And again, remainder 2, because 4 times 5 is 20. So that leaves a remainder of 2 with 22. Now, how many times does 4 go into 28? That's exact. That is 7. So there's your answer, 157. Now, with this one, when we see the word of, we can think of it as times. So what we're saying here is, can we do 2/5 times 650? So when we want to multiply with fractions, we need to get both of them as fractions. So we'll rewrite this as 2/5 times 650 over 1, because that's the equivalent fraction. Then we're going to multiply the top together, and we're going to multiply the bottom. Now, how are we going to do 2 times 650? We don't try not to use our calculator, so a quick way we could do it is we could break it up and we could say 2 times 600 and 2 times 50. Now, 2 times 600 will be 1200 and 2 times 50 is 100. So altogether that's 1300. So we've got 1300 over 5. Now, we could do a short division like we did in the last question, or there's a clever trick when we divide by 5. When you divide by 5, you basically divide by 10, then multiply by 2. So if we divide 1300 over 5 by 10, we're going to get 130. Yeah? This is what we divided by 10. And then we're going to times it by 2. And we're going to get 260, which is going to be our final answer. Okay, now time for a subtraction. So, like always, let's write these numbers in nice columns. Okay. And again, we're going to start from the right-hand side. So, 9 minus 3 gives me 6. Now, when I come to the second column, it's a bit trickier. 8 minus 9. 8 minus 9. Now, there's not enough of the 8, is there? We can't take away 9 from 8. So what we need to do here is we need to borrow. So we do is we borrow from the list column and we borrow a 1. So instead of this 5 now becomes a 4, and this 1 adds here to the 18 to make 18. So now we've got 18 minus 9, which is 9. And then 4 minus 2, which is 2. Okay, this one has got 2 steps. So we always do the things in brackets first. Okay, so we first of all will do 3, 2, 6 plus 2, 2, 2. As we've done before, straightforward. 6 plus 2 is 8, 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 2 is 5. Now we're going to do the subtraction. So 5, 4, 8 minus 1, 4, 2. Again, starting from the right-hand side, 8 minus 2 is 6, 4 minus 4 is 0, 5 minus 1 is 4. And that is our answer. Okay, question 2. Matthew decided to make a cake. The mixture needs 35 grams of flour. He bought a 500-gram bag from the shops. How much does he have left? So when we see a word like left, we're probably going to have to do a subtraction. Okay, so he had 500 grams and he's used 35 grams. So how much has he got left? We could do this by lining it up like this and doing a subtraction, or we could try a faster method in our heads and think, how many grams did it take to go from 35 to 100? That would be 65 grams. And then how many to go from 100 to 500? That would be 400 grams. So altogether, the answer is 465 grams. And the second part, he decides to make two larger cakes with the remaining flour. However, these cakes need 250 grams of flour each. Does he have enough? If not, how much more does he need? Well, we know that he's not going to have enough, right? Because if he's going to make 2 cakes at 250 grams, that's going to be just doubling 250. You can do that in your head, 500 grams. But we know he only has 465 grams left. So, no, he does not have enough. He needs that 35 grams bag. Okay, on to question 3. Here we've been asked to put the scores of a game of bowling into order. So, I'm going to go from smallest to largest. So we'll start with Sarah. The smallest number is a 1. So we start with the 1 there. It's good to tick them off as you go. Then 3. Then 4. Then 5. Then 7. Then 8. Then 9. And then 10. Okay? Now with Emma, she actually starts with a 0. She didn't do very well on that one. And then 1. 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9. So that's them in order. And now they've asked us to find the largest overall score. So we're going to add them up. So for Sarah, it will be 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. Which will be, I think we did this in our heads. Don't do it in a column. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 4 is 8, plus 5 is 13, plus 7 is 20, plus 8 is 28, plus 9 is 37, plus 10 is 47. And for Emma, we're going to do the same thing. 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 6 plus 8 plus 9. 0 plus 1 is 1, plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 5 is 11, plus 6 is 17, plus 8 is 25, plus 9 is 34. Okay, number 4. Artificial grass, also known as fake grass, costs £22 per roll. David calculated that he'll need at least 7 rolls. How much will this cost? Well, this is going to be a multiplication. So we're going to do 22 times 7. Remember how we did this? We do 7 times this, and then we'll do 7 times that too. So 7 times 2 is 14. We're going to have to carry 1 over there. And then again, 7 times this 2 is 14, plus the 1, 154. Okay, he then looks at buying pebbles, which are £15 per bag. He'll need 4 bags. So another multiplication, 15 times 4. And we're going to do what we did before. We first will do 4 times 5, and then we'll do 4 times 1. So 4 times 5 is 20. So we put the 0 of the 20 there, and we carry over the 2. Then we do 4 times 1 is 1. Then we add the 2. That gives us 60. He's going to need £60. Always good to make sure you put your correct units. Okay, what would be the total cost of the garden project? Wow, let's remember we had 154 for the grass and we had 60 for the pebbles. So we've got 154 plus 60. Again, we add that up. 4, 5 plus 6 is 11. So we put the 1 here, carry over the other one. 1 plus 2, 1 is 2. The total cost, 214. Okay. Write down the first 5 prime numbers, starting from smallest to largest, beginning with 2. Is that very important? 1 is not a prime number. Okay. So, what is a prime number? A prime number is a number that can only be divided by 1 and itself. So 1 doesn't really count because it already is. It's dividing it by 1 is itself. So we don't count 1. So 2 is the first one because 2 can only be divided by 2 and it can only be divided by and 1. Okay? Next, 3. Yeah. That can't be divided by anything else. Now, apart from 2, the rest of the even numbers are not going to be prime numbers, are they? Because they can all be divided by 2. So we're going to ignore those. So 4, we will ignore. 5, we can consider 5. Yep, that's good. 6, we're going to ignore. 7, let's think about it. That's good, yeah. 8, we will ignore. 9, no. 9 can be divided by 3. So we can't include that. We ignore 10 because it's even. And our next one is 11. So these are the first 5 prime numbers. Okay, on each clock, draw where the hand should be for the following set of digital times. Okay, so this is 5:30 a.m. So what we have is we have the big hand on the 30, right? So the big hand down here on the 30, and we will have the small hand on the 5. That will suggest 5:30, but actually that's not very good because it won't be pointing there. It will be pointing halfway. We'll be pointing, it should really line up with this because it will already have been moving around halfway. It will be about there. Yeah, 5:30. 9:45. Okay, so we need to have the big hand on the 45. The 45, remember, will be over here. You could think of this as the 0, 15, 30, and 45. Okay, so the big hand's on the 45 and the small hand needs to be on the 9. Okay, but not quite on the 9 because it's already going to have moved around quite a bit towards the 10, hasn't it? So it's going to be something like this. Right? 9:45. 15:25. So we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So we need the big hand to be on here, the 25. Okay, and the small hand needs to be on 15. Now, what's 15 in the 24-hour clock? In the 12-hour clock. 15 is the same. If you subtract 12, 15 minus 12 is 3. So it's 3 o'clock. So the small hand needs to be quite kind of a bit further past the 3 because it's moving towards the 4. And finally, 22:15. So 22, we need to convert this one as well. 22 minus 12 is 10. So this is 10 o'clock at night, 10:15. 15 we know is here. So the big hand goes towards the 15. And then the 10, here, this is 11, this is 10 here, right? So the small hand needs to be just a bit past the 10. Okay, for 10:15. Good. Okay, for question 7, they've asked us to calculate the area of the rectangle. Now, the formula for area of a rectangle equals length times height, or width times height. Basically, the two sides. This we can call the height, and this we can call the length or the width. And we need to be multiplied together. So we need to do area equals 5 times 24. Okay. Now you can do that either by writing it out like this. 5 times 4 is 20. So we have a move over the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 120. So 120. And the units, meters squared. Okay. Okay, one about travelling here. The table shows the timetable for train routes going from London to Edinburgh. Some are direct and some have stops. Study the table and answer the following sets of questions. Okay, at what time will you arrive if you take the train with no stops? So this is the train with no stops. We're going to leave at 13:30 and we travel for 4 hours and 20 minutes. So good thing to do is to break this up. So 4 hours and 20 minutes. So first of all, if this is 1:30, isn't it? Because the equivalent of 1:30. If we travel for 4 hours, this is going to take us to 17:30. Yeah, if I add 4 hours on, I move from 1:30 to 5:30. And basically I'm adding 4 to the 13. Now, so I've done my 4 hours. I'm going to add the 20 minutes. So that's going to add to the 30 over here. So we're going to have 17, 20 plus 30, 50. So that's going to be the time we arrive. 10 to 6. How much longer is the train with one stop compared to the train with no stops? Well, we know the train, so have a look at the times. So the travel time for no stops was 4 hours 20, and for one stop was 5 hours 35. So for 0 stops, it's 4 hours 20, and for 1, it's 5 hours 35. Just check that. 35. Okay. So what's the difference? All right. Well, with these time ones, again, it's good to look at the difference between the hours and the minutes separately. So if we were trying to go from 4 hours 20 to 5 hours 35, okay. First of all, we definitely have added on 1 hour. Yeah. And then in terms of minutes, we'd added on 15 minutes. So that's the difference, 1 hour and 15 minutes. If the train with 2 stops has the same direct travel time as a train with no stops, how long is each stop? Okay, let's go back to our table. The train with 2 stops takes 6 hours and 10 minutes. And has the exact same travel time as with no stops. When no stops was 4 hours and 20 minutes. So what's the difference there? Okay. If we start at 4 hours and 20 minutes, we go a whole other hour, we'll get to 5 hours and then 20 minutes. And then if we want to get to 6 hours, we go another 40 minutes will get us to 6 hours. Yeah. And then another 10 minutes will get us to 6 hours and 10 minutes. Okay, so if we then add up, this was an hour. If we then add up these 3 bits that we did it, we see altogether we have 1 hour and 50 minutes. Now, how many stops were there? There were 2, of course. So we know there were 2 stops, so we need to divide this into 2. So maybe it would be good to change it all into minutes. 1 hour 50 minutes is the same as 1 hour 60 minutes. And the 50, it's going to be 110 minutes. And then 110 divided by 2 is 55 minutes per stop. How long is each stop? 55 minutes. Okay, finally, if you arrive in Edinburgh at 00:45, which is 1:45 in the morning, what is the total travel time for the train with 3 stops? So it departed at 4 o'clock, 16 o'clock and 24 o'clock, and the stops are 15 minutes and there's 3 of them, right? So let's write all this information down. So it departed at 1600 and we have 3 stops of 15 minutes. Now, how long is that? 3 altogether. 3 times 45. Sorry, I gave you the answer there. 3 times 15 even equals 45 minutes. Okay. And we arrived at 00:45. So we can actually see that 45 minutes of the stops, we can take off here. So we can just figure out the time to midnight. And the other 45 minutes can be the stops. And so what's the time from 4 o'clock until midnight? It's easy to break this down. Sometimes think about going, first of all, until 6 o'clock. Okay, that's 2 hours. And then to get to midnight, we know is another 6 hours. So, because midnight is the same as 12. So 2 plus 6, and all together it would be 8 hours. Question 9, we have a graph. And the first thing they're asking us is to plot the following points. Now, when we have a pair of points like this, the first point refers to the x-axis, and the second point refers to the y-axis. So when we have the point 2, 1, this point here, that means we have to go across 2 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. So that's our point. So that's going to be point A. Point B will be 6 and 1. Point B. Point C will be 4 and 6. And then we can join these up. Now, I think you'll know what shape that is. That is a triangle. What is the x-coordinate of the middle of the shape? We can see this is the middle of the shape here. Yeah? And if we go down, we can see that the x-coordinate is 4. Finally, it says on the diagram, draw the line of symmetry. The line of symmetry is the line that cuts the shape in half so that both sides are the mirror of each other. So the line of symmetry here would be through the middle. I'll make it a bit straighter. We can see the shape is the same. It's a reflection of itself. Okay, question 10. We're going to put these percentages into a pie chart. Now it helps here just to do some quick estimations. If I do this, I've divided it into 4 sections. So I know each of these are 25%. Because 25% is 1/4 of the circle. So we've already got 2 we can do quite easily. Banana and grape. Yeah? So banana, we'll use a different colour for grape actually. Banana we will say is 1/4 or 25%. And grape is also going to be 25%. Okay. Now the remaining, this is 50% here. So if we take for the apple, the majority 40%, so for about this much, it's only an estimate. You could do this precisely if you had a protractor. This will be the 40% of apple. And the remaining, we need one more colour, will be plum with the 10%. Good. Okay, convert 3 2/7 into a top heavy fraction. This is easy. So when we have a mixed fraction like this, we multiply and then we add, and it always goes over the original number. Okay, so it's 3 times 7, add 2. 3 times 7 is 21. So that's 23/7. That is your top heavy fraction. Okay, 12. Simplify this. So first of all, we must start with the brackets. We need to get these over a common denominator. Common denominator for 5 and 7 will be 35. Whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So to get from 5 to 35, I multiply by 7. So I must multiply 2 times 7. Similarly, for the 7, I multiply by 5. So I must multiply the 3 by 5. So I've got 14/35 plus 15/35. Now I can just add the top. 29/35. Okay, and now I'm going to divide that by 1/3. So 29/35 divided by 1/3. The trick here is that's the same as 29/35 times the fraction the other way round. And now we can multiply the top and multiply across the bottom. Now 29 times 3 we can do quickly on the side. 3 times 9 is 27, carry over the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So we get 87 on the top and 35 on the bottom. And if you want to write that as a mixed fraction, you can. It will be 2, and there'll be 17 left over. 2 and 17, 35ths, which you can check. Okay, some algebra now. So to do this, first of all, we solve the side on the right. So this tells us 5 times 7 is 35. So x, some unknown, plus 20 equals 35. So what we do is we subtract 20 from both sides. And we get x equals 35 minus 20. So x equals 15. You can check that. 15 plus 20 equals 35. Here we do the left-hand side first. 52 minus 21. That's going to be 31. Well, this is easy. We don't even need to do it. 31 plus 0, obviously, is going to give us 31. And here, this is a little trick one. What times 9 equals 12 times something? Well, we just put the reverse. If I put 12 in here and 9 in here, that has to be true, because with multiplication, a times b equals b times a. So 12 times 9 is the same always as 12 times 9. Okay, and now question 14, currency. So we've got two exchange rates here. We've got pounds to dollars and we've got pounds to peso. So we've got £1 is $1.5. And we've also got £1 is 2.5 pesos. And we want to know how much will we get for £200. So what we do here is the rule of 3. Now the rule of 3. So it was divide across here and then multiply. So we do 1.5 divided by 1 times 200, which is $300. And here again, divide and multiply. 2.5 divided by 1 times 200 equals 500 pesos. Okay, 15. Express the following statements using the symbols. Now remember that this is bigger than, and this is, or larger than, smaller than. So, x is larger than 12, but x is smaller than 20. So we put 12x, 20. Now here we've got t is less than 1000, y is greater than 500, and p is b between both t and y. So we start with the smallest number is 500, then we get y, then we get p, then we get t, and then we get 1000. Okay, now some more rule of 3 here, some more ratios. We've got this rule, which is 1 inch equals 2.5 centimetres. So 1 inch to 2.5 centimetres. The UK builder measures a wooden block which is 40 centimetres. What number would the US use in inches? So again, we do divide and multiply. So 1 divided by 2.5 times 40. That's the same as 40, because it's 40 over 1. 40 divided by 2.5. Now, some tricks here, what we can do. We can, to get rid of this decimal, multiply the top and the bottom by 10. So we get 400 over 25. Okay, because it's the same thing. We've done both sides by 10. Now, how many 25s do you have in 100? 100 is 4 25s. So 400 must be 16 times 25. So the answer is 16 inches. Right, and some more. Okay, here we've got 8 old to 1 new. And we're told 392 old, so how many new? Rule of 3. 1 divided by 8 times 392. Or the same as 392 divided by 8. We do small division. 8 into 3 doesn't go. 8 into 39 goes 4 times. That's 32. Right? 7 remaining. 8 into 72 goes 9. So 49 new cups. Okay, and so now we have a new ratio, which is 3 new to 15 old. And to simplify, we can divide both sides by 3. So this one will become 1 new to 5 old. And the other one was 1 new to 8 old. So this is new to 5, 1 to 5, and 1 to 8. Okay, for this question, we've got 3 cards, each of which does a particular function, okay? Multiply by 5, add 3, and divide by 2. And we're going to take the number 13, and we're going to put it through these functions, okay? And see what comes out on the other side. First of all, we multiply by 5. 13 times 5 equals 65. We add 3. 65 plus 3 equals 68. And then we divide by 2. 68 divided by 2 equals 34. So the answer here is 34. Now they're saying we're going to rearrange the cards in the sequence B, C, A. Okay, so B is add 3. C is divide by 2. And A is multiply by 5. And then they say our final answer is 60. So we're going to go reverse this time. This gives us 60. So we actually need to see what happens to get to the other way. So we need to do the opposite. Now what's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So we're going to divide by 5. 60 divided by 5 is 12. Then the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. So we'll multiply by 2. 12 times 2 equals 24. Then we're going to do the opposite of adding, which is subtracting. So we're going to subtract 3. 24 minus 3 is 21. And that's your final answer. Now the last question. We have to get the perimeter of these shapes. Now the perimeter is basically the outside edge. If you add up the outside edge, that will give you the perimeter. So the first one is going to be 4.25 plus 4.25 plus 3.5. So this is 8.5. So we've got 8.5 and 3.5. The 8 plus 3 is 11. Then the 2 halves will give us another whole. So we're going to have 12 altogether. And that unit is meters. For the second one, let's label the missing side. We have 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2.5 plus 5 plus 2.5. Okay. This is going to give us 7. And this is going to give us 10. Which altogether is 17. Because here we've got the 2.5s, which equal 5 and an extra 5. For the third one, got quite a lot of extra sides to label. This will be 4, 1, 2, 3.5, 2, 1, 1, 2. 0.5, 2, 1. Okay, so an easy way to do this, we can see it's symmetrical. So we can just, each number is there twice, you see, the 4 and the 4. So if we just go around once and then times it by 2. So we'll do 2 times 4 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3.5 plus 2 plus 1, which is 2 times 5, 7, 10.5, 12.5, 13.5. And 2 times 13.5, 2 times 13 is 26. And then the extra 1 is going to give us 27 meters. So actually this already is in the order from smallest to largest. That concludes today's lesson on paper 1 for maths. Hopefully that helped make everything clearer for you and you're now confident going about tackling each question. And as always, I'll talk to you in the next video.